Well, let's see. Oh, I can't minimize Zoom when recording's in progress. That's new. Um, let's see here. You're a little garbled, and I'm wondering if it's because you're probably working off a public Wi-Fi.
I am actually on a hotspot on my phone.
Rhyme or free, it doesn't matter to me. It's my bad poetry. Good day, and welcome to My Bad Poetry, a podcast where we take a deep dive into our poems from youth, yesteryear, or even yesterday, always asking the question, why in the world did I write this? I'm Aaron.
And I'm Dave.
And today we are joined by a poet best known for Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Aaron.
What?
Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Read the document. The document.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see Lewis-Carroll. Mm-hmm.
Yep, you're bad at this. Also remember, Lewis-Carroll, dead for a relatively long time.
I thought that was a little strange, but, I wasn't going to question it.
What an idiot.
Well, if they are not chasing the white rabbit, they are more likely feeding them from their homestead garden. The author of 4 haiku collections and a full-length collection titled What's Left, Tate Lewis-Carroll, what a joy to have you on.
What a pleasure to be on with you guys today. Thank you so much for having me.
So is there anything we might have missed in the intro other than the fact that you are not the previously named dead poet?
Well, it's so funny that you say that because I have beef with Lewis-Carroll.
Oh, really?
Because
yes,
everyone makes that connection. But did you know Lewis-Carroll was a pseudonym, whereas my Lewis-Carroll appears on my driver's license? So who's the more authentic here,
You heard it here first, folks. We have a Lewis-Carroll name off.
Take that, Charles.
What? Charles? Is that his?
Yeah, it's Charles some Dodgkinson, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
I did not know that.
I feel like I've heard that, but I'm not smart enough to actually remember that. It's like, what's his name? The, A Knight in King Arthur's Court.
Mark Twain?
Yes, Mark Twain, and
Samuel Clemens, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can never remember either of his names, and every single time he comes up, I feel like a moron. Because I'm like, he has 2 names, and I don't know either, but he wrote books.
Anyway, we're going down the wrong rabbit hole.
I hate you so much, Aaron.
Well, I guess I'd also like to say that, yes, I do have a little homestead. Me and my wife operate a small farm where we raise chickens, sell eggs, produce like plants, veggies, and we tour around at local farmers markets and sell our stuff. I sell my books. She's a photographer. She sells prints of her stuff. She makes candles and like sews scrunchies, and we have a little wood shop that we make stuff on. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
It takes up a lot of time, but I enjoy every second of it. And I also just finished serving a 3-year term as poetry editor for the Ocotillo Review and as an editor for Callista Guy Press, which was fun as well. But now I have all this free time in my hands. I don't know what to do with it.
Well, get back in the wood shop. Come on.
I suppose. Let's make some money.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. So we're picking you up as you're at, correct me, a writers' conference?
Yes, I am participating in the Collins Writers Conference at Augustana University in Rock Island, Illinois, hosted by the Midwest Writing Center. And so far, it has been a blast. Last night, we had a fun keynote address, and today there'll be classes during the day and a reading at like a local bar. And then tomorrow night, there'll be an all-day book fair where I will be bringing some of the things that we make, like our candles, books, and, hustling poetry wherever I can.
Heck yeah. Nice.
That's amazing. Well, to bring us into the realm of poetry, Dave, you have hastily written poems that you make in a week's time that you're going to share for us now.
Yes. Week's time implies that I spend any more than Friday morning on it.
I'm honored. I'd spend Friday morning on it.
This is called PVC and Plywood. Good friends gathered around citronella, joyful laughter and frustrated defeat. We throw and wait, talk and mock. We listen and commiserate. From the street, it's just bags. From the driveway, it's hope-filled fun.
It has a lovely element of, bonding and coming together over these material goods into a, moment of bags, a game, something where you're having fun together, or a competition where you get to win and someone else gets to lose. I mean, that's always a good time, right?
That's the most important thing, is just destroying my friends in games. Yeah, we have friends who come over every Thursday night, and we have a couple of drinks and play some games out on our driveway. And passing by in a car, it just looks like, idiots yelling at each other about nothing important. But in between games, we really we have some nice bonding time, and it's just a wonderful little thing.
We're talking about beanbags here, right?
Yeah.
So you're in Illinois, right? My question first is, in Ohio, we called it cornhole.
That's because you're bad and wrong.
Yes. So I know people who do call it cornhole, and I don't speak to those people because it's bad.
Okay, you are the better Lewis-Carroll. I agree.
Case closed.
Okay. Well, as fun as that was, we are here to talk about your bad poetry, Tate. So we have 3 that you have provided for us. And I kind of want to start with your oldest one first. We have a 2017 question mark here. It's listed as poem 3, Kissing the Fire Eater.
Perfect. Well, let's get started. Kissing the Fire Eater. Longleaf pine cones will never be satisfied with just a kiss. They need the danger of an open flame. There's not enough heat on these lips to crack them. Without this threat of fire, how will I ever open up?
Oh my.
Did that come through okay for you guys?
Yep.
Yeah. That's just shocked silence right there.
This is a bit saucy for our show.
Right. I know. A little scandalous.
Okay. 2017. How old were you? Where was this? What is this context here?
Okay, so when I initially got the invite to appear on your show, I was a little worried about what to actually bring. My first thought would be, I'm going to find something gross, like a little shock and awe value. But I decided to kind of be nice to my younger writer self. So this is right after I first started to write seriously or with any sort of intention, because I started writing in 2016 after my freshman year of college as a nursing major. Having just about flunked out, I needed to pursue something else. And so while I was twiddling my thumbs and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I thought, aha, I'll just kind of wait around as an English major, read a couple books, write a couple papers. Who has it easier than English majors do?
Theology majors.
Oh, shoot. I should have thought about that.
Right?
So then I was enrolled in Poetry 201 in 2016. And that was when my father was diagnosed with cancer and he was dead 6 months. And so that whole experience, that dying process while being enrolled in writing classes really gave me an urgency to approach poetry in the way I might not have if it was just to pass or fail while I move on to some sort of successful career path, you know? And so this was shortly after that time, obviously. And the context, I guess, is my wife's parents. So my mother and father-in-law were both in circus, met in a circus. We're in circus in college and circus out of college as well. And this is where I was then introduced to all of the circus acts. One of the acts that my father-in-law did was eat fire. Even at their wedding, they stopped like the ceremony or whatever for them to eat fire, and everyone watched and clapped and huzzawed, whatever circus people do. And so I love that idea at the time of like, whoa, what would it be like kissing the fire eater? But I don't know. I think the title is the most interesting part of the poem.
That is interesting, though. Like, I do like the title, and I like the, the pine cones needing the fire to spawn their seed. There's something.
Dave.
What?
Phrasing. It's just...
No, that's what I was saying. Is just I like the metaphor of kissing the fire eater. There is an interesting concept there, and connecting it to the pine cones, I really like. It is to put it delicately, there is some interpretive lenses you could put on this that would make that metaphor a little more interesting.
That's Minnesotan for bad. It comes off really. It does come off really interesting in that there's like, without the threat of fire, how will I ever open up? It's like either you really want a passionate kisser in your life. Like I'm not settling for a bad smoocher in this relationship. It's very superficial, or like, I guess that more like circus life, that the seeking for a life of adventure or thrill. Knowing that background, that makes a lot more sense.
I also my pronouns are they them, and I am a queer poet, and this is not anything new to me, but it's new to being open about it. And I think at this time as well, I was still trying to figure it out. I go back and I look at some of my old stuff, particularly for this interview, going back and look at their old stuff, and I'm like, that seems a little suspicious, you know? What was really talking about there?
Right.
There is something queer afoot here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you think the longleaf pine cone opening up is a metaphor for that?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm the pine cone. You could be the pine cone. I don't know.
There's more than one interpretation.
As with any bad poem.
Yes. Yes. Oh.
Well, that does add another layer to that, though. Especially because I think as a man who writes terrible poetry myself, I feel like I can be more open in poetry than I can in conversation. Like, my wife and I have this conversation often that I am pretty straight. Like, we recognize that, like, you know, straightness is on a spectrum, and so no one is truly, like, 100% straight or 100% gay, but, like, you know, people fall on a line of this. And, like, I have no words to describe, like, I consider myself to be very straight, but that sounds strange to me, you know?
Dave, I lived with you for a year. You are not like a manly man.
No, I am not a manly man.
But I think that's something of this, the whole spectrum thing that and this interpretive lens. Yeah, we just don't have.
Yeah.
we don't have very good language, and poetry does open up.
And man and straight don't need to be mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
Right,
either.
very much so, yeah.
Right, they're literally different things. Huh.
So in your context, maybe the fire that is opening you up is poetry.
There we go.
As you might be.
I am loving this poem more and more. What is the fire that each one of us needs to open up a little? Break that outer shell we have to protect us from this vicious and cruel society.
If you find it, let me know, because
yeah, sure.
I think Aaron is just trying to write the next great My Chemical Romance song.
No, they're already doing that themselves. They've reunited, Dave.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I was not that impressed with their latest album. I'm just gonna say.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Yeah, those are fighting words, but.
Should I take off my mascara then?
Well, we have kissed the fire, and I'm very curious as to, being that you are talking with two pastors here, whether you do that or not. Most of our guests normally don't, so. But you bring to us something that is after Matthew 7. So I think we have to hear that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Beach House. After Matthew 7:24-26. This green water, alive and energetic and constant, spits its white foam over the shoreline, misting into the soft air, landing on my skin. It paints me silver and glossy, shimmering in the sun's warmth. The wind blows through the palms, breathing life into them. They stretch and twist their trunks with sacred dances of shivers and shuffles. Above the trees, a line of pelicans soar. Their wings lift and carry them across this empty and open sky. Seemingly motionless, they hover above the sea. These are the gods I want to worship. The sea, the winds, the birds, the trees. Why would I build my house on rocks when I could live here in heaven on the sand?
Oh, I like that.
Oh, thank you.
That's fascinating.
It just oozes with angst.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But of the genre of angsty poem, this is far more like mature poetically than I think a lot of like classic angst poems. I don't know. I'm curious. So aside from your interpretive lens of this being just all angst, oozing angst, what else do you see in this that made you bring it to our show?
Sure. Well, do you hear the Mary Oliver screaming in the background? Every young poet have a Mary Oliver phase where you get all those commas, splices, and you get the triple, like, alive and energetic and cut. It was also kind of fun to write at a time when, so I grew up very, very Christian,
Sure.
actually kind of wanting to become a pastor in my youth. But this poem was written during a time when I was at my mom's house. She lives in Florida, and I was writing it there. She's very religious, and it was almost like I'm gonna say my piece now,
Sure.
Although looking at the parable, don't build your house on the shoreline where it's going to get washed away, but instead with a good foundation. Like that's sound logic. What am I arguing against here? Maybe Jesus knew about oceans rising in today's climate.
Global warming. It was warned there all along.
Conspiracy that goes to the top.
Oh.
And I don't know. I also feel like this poem is pretty singular. Not much interesting kind of happens. Like there's the weird, like the trees are coming alive or whatever, but just I wrote it. I never showed my mom, but I felt like, yeah, I won that fake interaction.
There you go.
It's a shower fight.
It's a shower fight. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Finally, I won that conversation from 12 years ago.
With poetry.
With poetry.
The best way to win any argument. Okay, I love that explanation. And I think from your explanation of Mary Oliver being comma splices and triples, I think I've never left a Mary Oliver phase.
Which is a wonderful track to be in. I mean, he's wonderful.
Yeah. I just always have to do things in threes.
Right.
And that's the pastor part of you, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That too.
But I thought I was so cool with the pelicans, how they hover above the water, because that's, interpreted from Genesis, hovering above the waters.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. That's good. No, I like this. I like this lens though, just because I feel like a lot of people could relate to this concept of basking in nature's beauty. And like, I know I've been on like walks along the beach or through the forest, and like there's just that sereneness to it. And I can really appreciate the balance of, why would I want to like sleep on the rock when the beach is where I belong? I appreciate the interpretive lens.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
One line that stuck out to me that I hope you're not proud of this one, but it paints me silver and glossy. I just see the Silver Surfer.
Oh, no.
So that kind of took me out for a moment there. It's like, oh, you're on a beach, you're silver and glossy, you could be surfing,
I love that. I love that maybe this is the villain here speaking. An origin story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he? No. I'm confusing plots here, but I thought he came to destroy the Earth.
To bring Galactus to the planet.
Right, yeah. So he's rejecting the rock that is Earth to surf the beach, which is his sorry.
I really appreciate how we were talking about how like this is a fairly dead-on metaphor for rejecting a faith tradition that you grew up with, and now Aaron has turned it into a sequel to one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
So this is full year into your writing because this is 2018. So you've been taught on like the classics, and you've been introduced to Mary Oliver, and with where you are now, having done a lot of haikus, and I found on your Wix blog, I don't know how active that is anymore, but you have haigas?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just curious, how have you seen your style evolve or change over time, and what are you currently experimenting with?
First off, I'm so embarrassed by that Wix page. It's just so old since I went through it. I don't know if you saw that the tab of inspiration or whatever I called it. Oh my God, I put so many hours into like, I'm going to find all these things that move me and share them with everyone who's going to come on my website.
I didn't even find the tab.
Oh no.
I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, I think now I write so much more in haiku and also surrealism, kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. I think I don't know. I love haiku, and I have always loved haiku, and that's one of the forms. So I ended up graduating with a double major in English writing and religious studies, and my concentration in religion was like East Asian Buddhism.
Sure.
And so a lot of my
Cool.
classes like overlapped or co-inspired in a way. And it's a small college, and so my teachers knew that and kind of steered me toward that. So I got to learn about the haiku, the actual writing practices, but then from a backdoor viewpoint, like the culture behind it, which is so interesting and formative. And so I just have always loved haiku and all the different styles of Japanese writing, which, yes, haiga is a different form of writing. It's just a picture with the haiku. Usually back in the day, in the 1700s, 1600s, it was just a painting, and then either the haiku poet would paint the picture, or an artist of another kind would paint the picture. It becomes a brilliant piece of artwork that they can sell for lots of money, or just because they
Nice.
enjoy it and find inspiration in the painting. And so I don't know. I just tried to start doing that around the house. So I got on bathroom mirrors, on windows. It's tough to kind of classify where I am. Committed myself to writing a memoir. So a totally different mindset than poetry. I really want to strengthen my sentence building skills. The workhorse of a good story.
So you're writing a memoir currently?
I am, yeah.
That is a big undertaking.
I grew up with a couple kind of debilitating autoimmune diseases that were pretty rare.
Huh.
And so that's going to play a major part in the story, among some
Sure.
other things that, can't spoil it yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Your full collection, I unfortunately haven't gotten my hands on yet, but What's Left? That's autobiographical as well, correct?
Yeah, it is. But it's like this new memoir or whatever, it wants to be very like, I think it's going to be kind of prosy hybrid poetry type of a deal. But What's Left is full of all different types of forms and styles of poetry, because really, like, my dad's death was the vehicle in which I learned to write and kind of experiment with all different classes, all these different types of forms in a class, and we move on to another class where you learn different stuff, and like, ooh, I could do that, or ooh, I could do that. And so it's just kind of a mishmash of me learning how to do this on my dad's corpse, or sifting through his house after he died, or going back through different memories.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm curious, with poem 1 that you provided for us, Wish He Was Here, is this about your father?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear it then.
Okay, perfect. Wish he was here, sitting on our front steps that I have always known, with its dark green painted floorboards. I looked out to Lake Michigan, glistening from behind the tops of these trees, and suddenly I felt you, sitting crookedly behind me in the doorframe, quietly studying the horizon, or maybe the colic on the back of my head. I wanted to reach back, slowly, feel the blunt tenderness of your bent knee pointed up at the sky, then feel your recoil backwards into the door, the sharp stinging of your palm on my ear, and hear you say, "That's my bad knee." But I didn't. I stayed still, frozen in the sun's glaring descent, and listened instead to a drowning fire crackle and hiss.
Okay. I'm going to tread lightly here because I actually really like this poem.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm wondering if this is the one you supplied for the wrap up at the end, or are you thinking this is a bad poem?
I don't think it is like terrible or embarrassing to
Sure.
show you guys or whatever, but I don't think it's very good. I don't think.
Okay.
I'm proud of myself at the time for putting that kind of thought into a work where the speaker returns to someplace familiar where the father had been before, and once there, remembers the father there, feels the spirit of the father there, and not wanting to confront the illusion, because then once you do, it goes away. But instead, sitting with it, until it dissipates or the moment moves on or whatever, instead of ruining it yourself. Coming up with that, I just don't think it's well executed here.
Yeah. It's still that kind of run-on sentence style that you were playing with Beach House. Gosh, I'm looking. I think you have 2 sentences. Maybe 2 periods at least.
That was definitely my style then, was like, how much can I put on a sentence? How heavily can I lean on a sentence? and do it poorly.
Well, but I thought that played into the concept of not wanting to break that imagination. Like, I thought that was the continuation, kind of, if I stop talking, this stops happening. If I stop thinking, it goes away. I don't want to on and on and on and on and on.
Okay. Yeah, I totally meant to do that.
Yep, 100%.
Yep, take credit for that. Yep.
It's funny, I wrote so many dad poems. Like, I was, as poets are, a little obsessive. Like, everywhere I looked, I was trying to squeeze my dad into something or pull him out of something, or he's here, he's there. I have so many dad poems. Had graduated. I put together a submitting, and got rejections, as one does. And with each rejection, I tried to return to the work and return to it with an objective eye, as an editor might. And that kind of forced me to reevaluate the work as a whole and kind of rework poems. And I began cutting until finally I was submitting a chapbook, which is actually how What's Left was initially picked up by Finishing Line Press as a chapbook. I had some issues with them, but I'm very happy with the end product. But one of them was, when I received my contract, I'm happy I read it, because there was a discrepancy. My chapbook was 35 pages. And in the contract, it says chapbooks are 34 and under, and full lengths are 35 and above. And so I reached out to my point of contact and said, hey, like, should I delete a poem, or, what's the dealio here? And he said, oh, it can just be a full length, no big deal. And I said, whoa. This is not what I had envisioned for my full length, because you'll see if you get a chance to read the book, I included photos that I found that my dad had taken after he died, color photos of all these beautiful nature scenes that I didn't know that side of him. And there's this poem that reappears 7 times at my father's wake, which is recorded dialogue that unfortunately I heard in the receiving line. And like, there's all these things, movements that I wanted to happen in this full-length book, and I didn't want this to be the full length. I was like, poems that maybe I could rework some of them, put them back in. And they said, sure, you got 2 months. And so instead of doing that, I just rewrote half the book, and I submitted those new poems. And I said, okay, so these are pretty new. Like, I don't really know what to make of them. It's just been a mad flurry of writing and, getting up all the stuff that I do. And so then I got from my editor an email forwarded to me from her, from the the top editor, approved, which is better than not approved.
Yeah.
So this was one of the poems back in the second round.
Wow. Well, I think there is more left here for us to discuss. We will have to close this conversation for now. But here at My Bad Poetry, we end each week with the words of a true poet. You've just introduced us to the history of What's Left, and so I don't know if you're planning on reading from What's Left or not, but before we let you go, would you be willing to read for us another one of your poems today?
Absolutely. Can this one be a good one? What I think could be good?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Well, how about I read this one from Gestures Wildly to What's Left?
Perfect.
And it's titled, I Dreamt Us Having a Pure Son and Father Moment. And it's a reverse perspective of Kent Johnson's I Dreamt Us Having a Pure Father and Son Moment. I dreamt us having a pure son and father moment, too, but near the boundary waters where cross-stitched roots pull islands into paths. I prepared to listen by filling swarms of mosquitoes with mantras, hymns, chants, prayers, and blood sacraments. I counted their bloated bodies drifting away to spread the news. 7,346,235,014. When ready, you asked, what was it like? And I opened my rib cage, and you pulled out enchanted beasts, loons sliding into the muck to milk their eggs, walleye floating up the jack pines to fill their nests with leftover fly paper and splintered axe handles and used handkerchiefs discarded by Eagle Scouts, ducks with lion's teeth, beavers dreaming of planting trees in their sleep, coyotes and foxes boxing with their hind legs, bumblebees with cormorant wings tap dancing on top of cattails. You took them, one by one, until the magic was gone. With my cage open, I said, look into my eyes. You looked down, away from me, though I knew you knew how lucidly I saw your face reflected in the glass lake next to my own. And at that moment, at once, together, our tears met their rising echoes and ripples on our cheeks. They rose and rose and rose, fell and rose. You tried to convince me your tears were for me, always slipping throughout you instead of your rage, then sad, then shame. I assume shame. The snarling emptied between us, but tears never curve. We only ever cry into our own reflections. Clouds below us, the shared space, swelled with our penitence. Then you soaked your palms in my reflection to cover the distance and dry my face. But you felt foreign, and I felt nothing. And this dream, our reaching and drowning into each other, ever rushing towards its end, has never stopped or changed either, no matter how much I have wanted to wake.
Wow.
That's beautiful and frustrating and scary and...
Thank you.
Really breathtaking. And having been at the border of the boundary waters, just to evoke that landscape.
Thank you. Thank you.
This has been My Bad Poetry.
Now go write some of your own bad poetry.
Perfect. Okay. I think that's that caught all the garbled parts.
Okay, sorry about this internet situation here.
Not at all.
Darn.
Not at all.
That is not your fault, and we constantly have these kinds of problems. That's just a thing.
Yeah.
That's the joy of our internet age.
Yes, it is.
Rhyme free doesn't matter.